just a few rules first, if I could. I'd like to welcome members of the public to the meeting today and those that are watching on the YouTube live feed. A few housekeeping rules. If members of the public in attendance need to use the facilities, they are located through the door you came through and round to the left. If there's a fire alarm, which is not intended to be any test, please leave the building by the nearest fire exit and make your way to the cathedral concourse. Any members of the public present who are due to speak, please can you use the facility to wipe down your microphone once you have finished. I'm assuming they've been made available. Can't see any. Well, they should be. We'll get something sorted. There should be some wipes available for you to do that. Can also remind all members and members of the public, please, to make sure your phones are on silent throughout the meeting. Item 1 then is apologies for absence.
Thank you, Chair. We do have apologies from Councillor Hiller, and Councillor Howard is in attendance as substitute. Also from Councillor Iqbal, and Councillor B is here as substitute for him.
Thank you, Karen. Councillor Howard, Councillor B, thank you very much for standing in. Item 2 then is declarations of interest. Councillor Jones first. I'll go with you.
Yes, I'm not speaking on. I'm going to withdraw for the item that's in my ward on Newark Avenue.
Okay, so would you withdraw to the rear of the room when that item comes up for me?
Yeah.
Thank you. And Councillor Warren.
With 5.1, obviously one's the one that raised objections. I will not be speaking on item, but obviously will not be taking part in the debate or taking part in the vote as well, because I'm predetermined on that application.
Okay, so I missed that. Are you speaking? Did you say?
Not speaking, I'm not speaking at all.
Right, so again, you'll retire to the rear of the room
Yep.
when that item comes up. Thank you very much. Item 3 then is declaration to make representation. Oh, so I do apologise, Councillor Hussain.
Sorry, the first item's also in my ward as well. I wasn't going to speak on it, but I've got no free determination, so...
That's fine.
Yeah.
Right, that's okay. It's not a problem. Anybody else got anything? No, that's okay. Sorry this is in the way, guys. It's the only way we can see it. But, anybody else? No, just the two. Right, item 3 then is declaration to make representations as the ward councillor. We've had 2 that obviously are not going to. Anybody else? No? Okay. Item 4 then, minutes of the meeting held on the 28th of June and the 19th of July 2022. We'll take one at a time, please. The 28th of June, can I take this as a true account? Can I have a proposer, please? Councillor Jones, and seconded by Councillor Jamil. And the 19th of July 2022. Proposer? Councillor Jones again, seconder for that one? Who was here on the 19th of July? Councillor Hogg will second that. Thank you very much. Okay. Item 5 then is development and control and enforcement matters. Item 5.1 relates to 35 Ringwood, Breton. Thank you very much. Beat me to it. Please can I ask James Melvin Claxton to introduce the item when you're ready, sir.
Hello, my name is James Melville Claxton. I'm the case officer for this application. The application is for the demolition of the conservatory, the erection of a single-storey extension, the garage conversion to habitable accommodation, and then also a detached garden store. My recommendation for this application is one of approval. The first slide is the site location plan. So to the north of the map, you can see South Breton playing field. The site itself is highlighted in red. The dwelling to the left of the site, highlighted in red, submitted an objection letter to the proposal. If we then go on to the next slide, this one shows the existing dwellings with elevations across the top and the floor plan along the bottom. The existing dwelling is semi-attached and is attached to number 34. The next slide is a series of photographs taken of the front elevation of number 35. The car parking can be seen just in front. The next slide shows number 35 and number 36. The next slide looks slightly further along to the right of number 35 at numbers 36 and 37. The next slide shows the rear elevation. So in front of us we can see the existing conservatory, which is the black wooden clad structure. We've then got the boundary fence that's shared between numbers 35 and 36, and you can see the change in ownership between the two properties if you look at the guttering, where it's black for number 35 and then changes to white for number 36. The next slide is taken inside the conservatory, looking through that into the garage and then out onto Ringwood Road itself. The next slide then moves through the conservatory and then is taken from within the garage, looking out onto Ringwood Road. So you can just see in front of us the applicant's car, which was shown in those earlier photographs as well. The next slide is the start of a series of photographs that I've taken at the rear of the property, and they move around in a clockwise direction. So we start with the conservatory in front of us. Then on the next slide we can see the rear elevation. The next slide shows the side boundary looking towards number 34. Then the rear boundary of number 35 looking over into South Bretton playing fields. The next slide then looks along that boundary, and we're now looking towards number 36. And the next slide shows the boundary between numbers 35 and 36. The last slide in the presentation then shows the proposal. So in the bottom, so if we go on to the next slide, please. Yes. Fantastic, thank you. So in the bottom left-hand corner of this plan, we can see the floor plan. We've got the proposed rear extension, which extends out from the back of the garage for 5.2 metres. It's 3 metres in width. Then to the very bottom of that plan, we then have the detached garden store, which is 3 metres in width and 2.35 metres in depth. The eaves height for the store is 2.2, and then at the ridge height it's 2.9 metres. I should also add the eaves height for the proposed rear extension is 3.3 metres. In terms of questions that were raised during the councillor's site visit, the fence line is to be retained. You can just see on these plans that it's still drawn on there, and that's also been confirmed by the agent as well. The fence line is approximately 1.8 metres or thereabouts in height, and the eaves height of the proposal is 3.3. The windows and doors of the neighbouring property, number 36, serve the kitchen area, and that would be looking out onto this boundary. A material consideration in this application is also what could be achieved under permitted development rights. It's my understanding that number 35 has all of its rights intact. And so, using the standard permitted developments, they could achieve in this location an extension which is 3 metres in depth off the back of the garage and approximately 4 metres in height, but that would be limited by matching the existing eaves. If they were to use the enlarged homeowners' permitted development rights, then subject to a scheme of consultation with neighbours, they may be able to achieve an extension which is up to 6 metres in depth off the back of the garage and not exceeding 4 metres in height. So they have a strong fallback position in terms of permitted development and could build something of a similar size to what's being proposed in this application. In terms of the storage shed, because it's within 2 metres of the boundary, it would need to be under 2.5 metres in height. As it's proposed, at 2.9 metres at the ridge, it would be 40 centimetres over permitted development. However, from my assessment on the site visit, I don't consider this to have a significant impact on neighbouring amenity. The conversion of the garage into a habitable room is something else that could also be achieved using permitted development rights. And so again, there's a strong fallback position for that element of this application as well. From my site visit and also this fallback position, I've come to a recommendation of approval on this application. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, James, for that. Now, we don't have a speaker from the point of view of councillor, but we do have a speaker, the agent. So, Mr. Branson, please. You'd like to come forward? Somewhere at the end here will do, nicely. Hello, Mr. Branson. You know how the system works well. You have 5 minutes when you're ready to address committee, and the officer will tell you when you've got 30 seconds left if you get that far. Thank you.
Oh, that one, sorry.
You're on. Well done.
Okay. Good afternoon, councillors. I can thoroughly endorse the planning officer's report and his recommendation. The rear, I'll just add a few points. The rear extension is required to improve the kitchen amenity. The existing property is smaller than it looks with its external appearance. As the officer has said, the extension is only 1 metre longer than permitted development, but well within prior approval allowance. It is subservient and not overbearing to the next property, and it's not visible from the front of the property. The garage, that is permitted development to convert it. It's not used as a garage because it's a typical single garage. It's too small, and it's only used for storage, as most single garages are. The conversion is required to give more living space within the property for the expanding family or the growing family. As we said, the objections appear to have been made by neighbours, not the adjoining neighbours, but the neighbours other in the street over, I believe, some parking issues. But I've never had a problem parking there. The whole of the front garden is block paved. They have more than sufficient car parking off-road. With that, gentlemen, I commend the application.
Okay, would you mind turning your mic off for me just for a second? Okay, committee members, any questions for Mr. Branson? do I have to look at? Yes, Councillor Jamil.
Mr. Branson, one of the reasons for the objection is that it's overbearing. What would you say about that, in your opinion? One of the objections is that the property is actually overbearing. What would you say in relation to that proposed extension?
This is a normal rear extension, which I do many of. If you do check with the planning, it's quite normal. It's a side extension against a boundary. It's nowhere near overbearing. It's just adjacent to the next property.
Okay, Councillor Jamil, yeah. Anybody else? Yes, Councillor Hogg.
Thank you, Chair, and through you. So I just wanted to ask the question about the storage shed. I understand the ridge height is 2.9 metres, and normally speaking you'd be looking at 2.5 metres. I'm just trying to work out what the reason for the extra height is and why you decided to sort of push that envelope a bit.
The height is for the extension of the kitchen only. The storage shed is a standard, I believe, 2.1 or 2 metres high, 2.4 metres high, because that doesn't need an insulated roof. And that is permitted development as well.
Okay, it's just that the papers that we've got are 2.9 metres.
Not on the shed, not on the storage shed.
When I've measured the plans, it comes up as 2.9.
There's no way we'd build it because we don't need it that high.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can that be covered off by a condition? Because the papers we've got in front of us say 2.9, so we would effectively be giving permission of 2.9.
There's no need for it to be that high. I did offer to the planning officers to withdraw the shed from the application altogether, and as I said, because it's permitted development, we might as well leave it in.
Just bear with us a sec, guys, while we have a chat. Just got a proposal for you to listen to before you go to your votes.
Okay, so for the clarification of committee, the officer has measured the shed on the plans that have been submitted for your consideration, and they measure it 2.9 metres high. The agent has just said that there isn't an intention to actually build a shed of that size, so we're left with a situation that we currently have plans in front of us that are different to what the applicant's agent is proposing or intended to propose. So I think the best course of action may be for the committee to delegate the decision to officers on the basis that you find the extension acceptable, but that the proposal would be amended to remove the shed element from consideration, if that's now something that's being sought as a change to the proposal.
Everybody happy with that? Yeah. Okay, that's fine. That's fair enough. So we'll stay with that at the moment. Any other questions for Mr. Branson? No. Okay. I don't know if you want to stay there, Mr. Branson, for the next one, or whether you want to retire. It's up to you. I'll call you back anyway. Okay, fair enough. Questions then to officers? Any clarification needed? Anything at all on this apart from that? Yes. Councillor Hussain.
So yeah, on the proposal you just mentioned about, is it removing the shed or putting it in there to say that they can put it at the height that was originally thought?
Yes, well, if after the committee we have a discussion with the agent and they can clarify the height of the shed that is proposed, if 2.9 metres is incorrectly shown, then if it would fall below permitted development limits, they would be able to build that without needing planning permission. But yes, equally, the applicant could submit revised plans that show the correct height of the shed and that it be within that permitted development limit.
I was just in my head, I was just thinking, would we not be able to put in there to say, as part of the proposal, that we would be okay with it being at 2.4 rather than removing, so it's in there, or is that just too complicated?
I think it becomes difficult because the committee would be seeking to amend the proposals that have been submitted by way of a condition.
You appreciate we've been there before, haven't we? That it's not our task to change their plan. I understand where you're coming from. But any other questions at all for officers? Go to debate then. Would you like to kick the debate? Councillor Hogg.
Through you. Having the paperwork on this, I had some concerns about the possibility of overbearingness from the shed. The rest of the development, I think, is fine in keeping, and I have no issue with that at all. So this revised situation going forward in terms of removing the shed from the planning permission, I find one that I can totally get behind. So as far as I'm concerned, I will support it with the removal of the shed element of the proposal. And that'll be it, brief as for once.
Okay.
So can I just confirm, rather than the removal of the shed entirely, it's more reducing the height so it falls within permitted development, therefore it doesn't form part of the planning application necessarily. Yeah.
So do I get it that essentially that we will be accepting the proposal without the shed? The shed would be would come back to you with a revised whatever, and it would be under permitted development rules anyway, so therefore wouldn't need planning permission anyway. So essentially we are removing it from the application so that it can be done as a separate matter, which doesn't actually require planning. Yeah?
Yes, that sums up perfectly. Okay.
Okay. Anybody else want to enter the debate? Councillor Rush.
Thank you, Chair. I cannot see any reason why this application should be refused. I cannot see the extension from the road. I don't think with the area. When you looked when we stood in the back garden and looked on the row of houses, there are other extensions being built further along the roads with ridge roofs, which would be higher than what the flat roof is. So I will be going along with officer's recommendation.
Councillor Rush. Anybody else? Councillor Jones.
Only quickly to commend, I'd missed the fact that Councillor Hogg had picked up the height, and you know, it now falls in once it's revised under permitted development, but I'm happy to support on the basis that we've agreed.
Any other comments in the debate? Do I have a proposer at all? Councillor Hogg.
So I propose that we accept the application with the revision of the shed being removed from the application.
Okay. And seconder, Councillor Rush. So all those in favour, please. Okay, that's a unanimous decision, so the application is approved. Thank you very much. Just let you set up. Just let the, would you like to retire now, Councillor Jones? Thank you. he's gone. He's not stopping then. Would you pass on my thanks?
Yes, I will do.
Okay. Just waiting for your slides.
Okay. No probs. Can you see that screen again? Yeah, you'll see what they can see.
Okay, committee then. Item 5.2, that relates to 122 Newark Avenue in Dogsthorpe. And please could I ask Connor Lycan, or Lincoln, is it Lycan? Lycan, please, to introduce the item. Thanks, Connor.
So thank you, Chair, and good afternoon, members. My name's Connor Lycan, and I'm introducing 122 Newark Avenue. So the proposal today seeks plan permission for the erection of a boundary wall to the front and side. So the application site itself comprises of a semi-detached two-storey dwelling construction in a brown-red brick mix and has concrete roof tiles, and it's situated on a corner plot. The principal elevation faces Newark Avenue and the side elevation faces Rowan Avenue. Both serve residential streets. Next slide, please. Go back to the location plan, sorry. Thank you. So this slide shows the application site edged in red. It's a narrow plot which benefits from a drop curb, hence the protruding section side elevation. Members may remember this, a similar proposal last year that came to committee for the erection of a boundary wall. And next slide, sorry. So this slide shows the principal elevation of the property. So members should note the colour of the palette of the brickwork, the brown and red brick mix. The character of the area itself is predominantly detached and semi-detached dwellings of a similar size, scale and design to the application site itself. The material palette within the area is the brown and red brick mix as well, and then with light undertones and cream rendering seen down the street. Another defining feature of the area is the soft landscaping and grass verges in the street scene and residential boundaries. Next slide. So this slide shows the side boundary and the existing hedge as it stands. So this hedge would be removed and replaced with the brick wall. Next slide, please. So this slide shows another view of the side elevation, but this time looking down Rowan Avenue and to Newark Avenue. So members can see the existing brick wall as it is, and then the hedge at the front that is planned to be replaced. And then next slide, please. So here is an image of a street scene looking towards the east. You can sort of see there's already grass verges, hedges and trees and like soft landscaping down the street scene as ready. Next slide, please. And then again, looking towards the west, you can sort of see the mature trees in the corner plot, and then adjacent to the application site are green hedges and planting associated with. Next slide, please. So this slide shows existing proposed elevation and plans, which are labelled accordingly. The plans proposed would remove the existing hedge and replace it with a brick boundary wall continuing what was approved last year. So it would be addition of a 60-metre stretch of brick wall, and the total length would be 29 metres stretching the boundary, and then would wrap around the front section connecting to the host dwelling. Then the height would be the same, so 2.25 metres. So it is officer recommendation that the application is refused on the basis on the impact of character, an impact on design and character of the area. So the proposed development would be constructed with a buff yellow brick with red detailing within the area, which is predominantly the brown red brick mix seen within the application site. As such, the proposed wall would form a prominent and undesirable feature within the street scene. This is contrary to the existing materials within the area. And the established mix of soft landscaping and residential hedges and greenery seen within the area itself. The proposal would be visually unattractive and unsympathetic and would detract from the overall quality of the area and the street scene. Therefore, the proposal would not accord with policy LP16 of the local plan and paragraph 130 of the MPPF. So to conclude, it's officer recommendation for refusal. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Connor. Mr. Branston, please. Hello again, Mr Branson. 5 minutes as before, when you're ready, please.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon again, councillors. Just add to this, the proposed wall is an extension of the existing wall. The wall previously approved by this committee. Reference has been made to the fact that the predominant brick locally is red. Yep, on Dogsthorpe Estate it is red. It's a council estate and it was built 1950s in typical red bricks. There's been constant moves by residents around there to brighten the area up by facing buildings and generally brightening them up and making them better. The view down Rowan Avenue is different. It's not typically Dogsthorpe. There's a mixture there of rendered and painted front elevations and brick walls. The proposed wall matches the overall street scene and the existing wall. To build a red brick wall there would look awful. It would be totally incongruous with the street scene. It makes total sense to match up the wall to what's already been built. A beautiful wall. The other problem if we build a red brick wall, which is a particular concern, is the attraction of graffiti, which I think it would. Being a totally different wall, it will just attract the vandals. As I said, the proposal is to match the existing wall. The cappings and everything else will all be completed at the same time and made into a nice street scene. In the words of Councillor Hillier, who's not here, last time he did say, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. But we need to make this totally congruous and make it a beautiful street scene. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Branson. Any questions from committee members for Mr Branson on this one? No, thank you very much. Okay, questions then to officers. Any questions about the wall? No. Straight to debate then. Who would like to start debate? Councillor Hogg.
Thank you, Chair. So I totally understand officers coming back with a refusal on this. Essentially, it's just echoing the same advice that we were given when the initial wall came before us. And so therefore, I can understand why they would come back essentially with the same advice as before. That said, at that time, the committee decided that actually the wall was fine and that it could proceed, and it has done so. And for my mind, it looks fine. And as the agent has pointed out, that to now build a red brick wall next to the now existing patterned wall would look incongruous, and that essentially the logical thing to do is just to extend the wall that is there now in exactly the same pattern and form that is there, and you know, as I said, it looks fine. And to be fair, so the hedge itself. Just had a haircut, but up till about 4 hours ago, my hair was looking a bit incongruous and needed to be chopped back. And I think the hedge that's there has got a bit out of control. I noticed it was pushing onto the pavement by a good foot, and would certainly need hacking back. And presumably, it takes up a good 2 to 3 foot on the inside of the curtilage of the property. So getting rid of that hedge I can see as being a headache that the house owner does not require anymore, and that by having a brick wall is going to look a lot better, have less maintenance issues, etc., etc. So unfortunately I will be going against officers' recommendations and would be supporting this application to go forward.
Thank you, Councillor Hogg. Anybody else? Councillor Rush.
Thank you, Chair. we gave planning permission for recently for the other wall, but I think building this wall further along with the yellow bricks would result in an enclosing effect on the street and out of character with neighbouring properties. This is a residential area, and when we looked at on the screen, most of the houses out the front of have got low-level walls or low-level hedges. So therefore, I think it would have an adverse effect upon the character and appearance of the surrounding area. So I will be supporting officer's decision on this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hussain.
Thank you, Chair. As a ward councillor in the area, I mean, I prefer the idea of hedges and greenery within the area. But I know within, every street and every resident sort of faces challenges and issues. And Rowan Avenue, as a street, has challenges and issues. And one of those was littering, antisocial behaviour. And I think it was one of the reasons why originally the original wall was probably granted. I know that this hedge is overgrown. It's never cut back on time, and we struggle to have that done, which causes issues to people that are walking on the footpath, dog walkers, etc. Added to that is the issue of people discarding, rubbish within the hedge itself, which causes further issues of littering down the street. The road itself, Rowan Avenue, there is similar walls further down, smaller, lower walls, but front-facing walls with the similar brick and pattern. So I don't think it's out of character within that street. There isn't many houses within the ward that have, side elevations or side walls, boundary walls, apart from on Rowan Avenue and I think one or two other corners. So it is quite a sort of an issue specific to that corner. I think part of the overbearingness would be taken away as you drive towards it from the opposite corner because of the large hedges and the trees. So the impact wouldn't be as much as we think. So on this one, I think I'll be going against officers and against officers' recommendation.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Yes, Councillor Howard and then Councillor Shaw.
Yeah, I think that when you look at what's happened historically, we've already agreed part of this wall already. And if we were sat here today deciding on a red wall, I think we'd actually be more objective to it than we would a continuation of the current wall that's there. I did notice in the pictures as well, as you're facing the house, the wall on the right-hand side, out the front, is actually the same colour as the wall that's being put up at the back. I think it would be a consistency to have it that colour and carry on with what's already been started, because if not, we're sort of saying there's no wall at all, aren't we? Because I can't see you could come back and suggest a red wall, because it would be completely at odds with what has been agreed historically. Thank you.
Sorry, thank you, Councillor Howard. Councillor Sharp.
Yeah, taking on board some of those comments, I mean, I think I'm of a mind where, as opposed to red wall or yellow wall, it's more for me no wall at all. For me, the street scene is improved by that green frontage. It breaks it up. If I look at the yellow wall, though I've got no personal issue in terms of the design, hence we passed it previously at planning, but that was a small section of the back of the property. What we're now saying is we're adding another 200% to the length of that wall in that brick facade. And for me, it does become overbearing, especially when you take into account how the green hedge currently softens it. And I take on board Councillor Hussain's comments about the hedge isn't maintained and so on, but that's the duty of the property holder, and we should be making sure that that happens. Just because it doesn't, I don't see that we should be allowing the extension of a significant wall frontage just because we can't maintain a hedge that has benefits to the environment in that area. So on that basis, I think the officers have made the right decision and would support it in this case.
Thank you, Councillor Sharp. Anybody else? No? Well, I'll say my bit then. I agree with Councillor Sharp, 100%. I think what happened before, I don't think it fits in very well anyway. The one before, but it was a fairly short bit of wall, so it wasn't a big issue, and I think we all, or lots of us, were okay with that. I think this massive, I would say, extension of a wall or a boundary treatment all the way to the front of the house is and you know, whatever 6 foot something tall is just too much. I think it's just too much. It's overbearing, and I agree totally with Councillor Sharp. You're quite right, Councillor, saying that there may well be problems with getting the hedge cut back and stuff. People put stuff in hedges, but that's the owner's problem. It's not, it certainly isn't planning's job to effectively relieve that problem. Although I understand where you're coming from. So in this case, I would actually agree that it's too much, and I'd vote against it and go with officers on this one. Any other comments before I go to a proposal? No. Do I have a proposal from anybody at this time? Do you want to go? Have you got a proposal? Well, it's one or the other, isn't it? It goes one way or the other, doesn't it? Well, it'll have to go to another one if it doesn't win, obviously. But do you want to do yours, or okay, Councillor Sharp then for your proposal?
Yeah. So on the basis of my previous comments, that the fact that this looks to be somewhat of a 100% increase on of wall frontage to what we've previously agreed to this committee, I do find that tips the balance to overbearing. It's the removal of green frontage, which I think is in the keeping with the local street scene, as we've seen from the officers' images. And so on that basis, I think we should support the officers' decision to deny the application.
Are you clear enough on that? Yes. Do you have a second? Yes, you do have a seconder. Councillor Rush. Okay, so proposal and seconder. Go to the vote. All those in favour of that proposal? Is that 4? 4 against. Okay, so that's 6, isn't it? Yes? Can you do against again for me, please? Put your hands up high, please. So it's 4 for and 6 against. So that proposal is defeated. So we'll now move to another proposal. Councillor Hogg, your proposal.
So my proposal, unsurprisingly, is to allow the application to go forward despite the recommendations.
And you have a seconder? Councillor Jamil. All those in favour? Six. And against? Same again. 4. So 6-4. So in that case, the application is approved. Thank you very much. Thank you. Just while you're here, sorry, Mr. Manston. Just while you're here, I'd just like to take this opportunity before we move to the next item to thank Connor. That was Connor's first presentation to committee, and I think he did rather well. And well done, and thank you. We'll look forward to seeing you at the future planning committees. Well done. Okay. Item 6 then is the Appeals Quarterly Report. This will be presented by somebody we know very well when you're ready.
Thank you very much, Chairman. So every quarter we give you an update on the appeals that we've received from the Planning Inspectorate in terms of decisions. And over the last quarter, from the 1st of April to the 31st of June, in the report that you have before you, we received 8 appeal decisions, and of those only 1 was allowed. So that means of the remaining 7 decisions, they went the way of the council, as it were. So of those that were allowed, that only represents 13% of the appeals determined, which, as you'll see from the table in 3.4 of the report, is consistent with other quarters. In fact, it's on the lower end. We do have a very good appeal rate here at Peterborough. The highest percentage of appeals allowed has been 33% over the last couple of years. This time round it's only 13%, so that's good news. In Appendix 1 we've listed the appeals in terms of their decisions, and if there were any pertinent appeals or any lessons to be learned, I'd report those to you at this meeting. However, as per the report, there weren't any particularly juicy ones in the last quarter, so I haven't got anything to take you through this time round. And then just finally, in terms of the government statistics, they look at a rolling 2-year programme of appeal decisions, and they have a target that councils need to meet. We are very much below that target, so it's good news in terms of the council's performance. And there are no committee decisions that have gone to appeal either during that time. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Sylvia. Any questions at all or comments anybody want to make? Yes, Councillor Rush.
I don't know whether I'm allowed to comment just on the application we're doing and the similar one in Stanground. What went to appeal? Yeah. We had a similar application in Stanground where a large fence wanted to be put alongside a bungalow, and that was refused by planning officers. It went to the inspectorate and he agreed with the planning officers. So I'm just saying that we had one that was refused, and then we have the civil one today where councillors approved it. So I just think sometimes you've got to think of the planning applications.
Thank you, Councillor Rush. Yeah, it's noted. Councillor Hogg.
I just wanted to make the observation that it would seem that you know, a big gold star for our planning department, that they've obviously the hard work and efforts that have been put in by the team are paid off, and this is a great result. Should be applauded.
Exactly right. Yeah. Anybody else? No? No, I think I agree. You've done it now. I want you to do it now, so thank you very much for that. But no, I think you're right. I think it shows that the training and the skills are there, and the new ones that are up and coming are picking it up and doing well. And I think from a committee point of view, we're not in there, so that's even better. So nothing's been pulled up from our point of view to cause us any grief. But long may it continue, and please pass on our thanks to all your team.
I will do.
For a job well done. Okay, so that's it. That brings the meeting to an end. Thank you very much for attending. Did we beat the record? Nearly. Yeah, we were 5 minutes over the record, so never mind. Perhaps next time. We can take the quarterly report out, we'll do it. So thanks everybody for all your input, and thank you officers and yourself, Chris, for coming along. Have a good afternoon, and I'll see you at the next one. Thanks.